Hey, I'm Angie.
And I am Aislinn.
And on today's episode of the Food Hero Cooking Show, we are making pork chili. So, Aislinn, what do we need to start with?
Washing our hands.
Let's go.
And a food hero is fun. Yeah.
All right, our hands are clean. Let's see, let's set this towel over here. And we're going to get started. So, today's pork chili, as always, I have a little twist. So, the recipe calls for pork, lean pork, either in cubes or ground. And you start with browning that with the onion. However, this is one trick I have for this, especially to make it really quick. I had some leftover pork shoulder that I had roasted for dinner last night. And so we just had a few leftovers. So I just kind of cut those up, and that's what we'll use in here. So we need to soften the onions a little bit first before we add this because it's already cooked. But this is a way actually to make your meal come together really quick. And don't worry if you don't have, exactly the amount the recipe calls for. Chilies and things like that are a great way to stretch meat, where you're using the meat for flavor, but maybe it's not the main ingredient. So we're going to soften up the onion a little bit. Okay, so I'm going to have you get started on the spices, and I'm going to have you measure them in the pinch bowl so that when we're ready, we can just dump all those in. So you go ahead. What are you starting with here? You've got the recipe. I'm going to let you go to town.
1 teaspoon of ground cumin.
Okay, 1 teaspoon of ground cumin. And then after that, you've got 2 teaspoons of chili powder, a 1/4 teaspoon of black pepper, a teaspoon of garlic powder, and a teaspoon of oregano. So you have a lot to do. I'm going to let you get to work. Now, one of the other things I want to mention is just keeping in mind that recipes are a base. So your family may like a little bit more oregano, you may like more garlic powder, so feel free to make those adjustments. But that's just a good place to start. All right, so these are browning up nicely. I'm going to go ahead and add our pre-cooked meat so that can be warmed up. Okay, great. We'll just give that a quick stir, and we're going to add all these nice fragrant seasonings to our meat and onions. Oh my goodness, this is going to smell good. We're going to stir those around a little bit, and then Aislinn, I'm going to have you hand me the broth. We're going to get that in.
What's inside of it?
So the recipe calls for 2 cups of broth, and that's a good question. So I just have water. And then I used a bouillon base to make my own broth. If you have the powdered bouillon, you can use that. It's typically like 1 teaspoon of the powdered bouillon or 1 teaspoon of the base for every 8 ounces of water. So that's just honestly a less expensive way to make broth. Okay, so we've got that. And then we need our beans. So I'm going to have you grab the beans, which these are canned beans, which we've drained.
Are they kidney?
Yeah, actually these are known as white kidney beans. But so we're just using white beans today. You could use pinto. A lot of times we use pinto, but I was out. But we do have other beans. I usually try to keep beans or something I try to keep in the pantry on stock. And so this is what the option was today. Either have these or kidney beans. So we went with white beans. We'll put that over there. But feel free to use whatever kind you have. And then we have nice fresh corn that's going to go in. And it's a cup that's going to go in. And again, we have corn in season here now. And so I purchased it from our local farmers. And I want to mention something. I get this question often in my classes. A lot of times the corn, so both of the farmers that I buy my corn from locally, they do not use any sprays or pesticides. And so a lot of times you'll see this at the top. And actually there was a couple little caterpillars crawling when I took the husk off the corn. That's a good sign. Okay, there's nothing wrong with that. If other animals want to eat the corn, it's probably very good, right? So this is still very usable corn. So that's what I always tell people, that's very, very normal. No problem. So I just shaved it off. Got a little bit left over here. We'll use that in another dish. All right, Aislinn, can you look? Did we get everything in here? Oh, we forgot one thing.
Oh, these.
We forgot our canned diced chilies. So this is just 1 can of diced chilies. Get those all in there. Those add a nice flavor. And then we're just going to bring this to a boil. And our meal is pretty much done. Wasn't that quick?
Yep.
That was super quick. And you know, your sister Avery loves this dish. She's going to be happy to see that we're making this today. This is a favorite. And I want to add too, you can add other things to it. Sometimes I'll put some diced green pepper in with the onion when I cook that in the beginning. That's really nice. And then to serve this, it's really great. You can add a variety of toppings. Sometimes we like a little bit of avocado on there, or sprinkle some shredded cabbage on top, some lime. All of that is very, very good with this. But feel free to enjoy it however you wish. Other thing I want to mention is sometimes my family likes more broth, so sometimes I'll just add a little bit more broth. And if you do that, you'll just want to adjust the seasonings too. So if you like a more brothy soup, feel free to add 1 or 2 cups more broth, but go ahead and taste it and bump up your seasonings. All right, was that like the quickest dinner ever? Pretty good. All right, well, why don't you go get Avery and tell her it's ready, and we'll sign off for this episode of the Food Hero Cooking Show.
Bye.
Being a food hero is fun. Yeah, yeah, yeah.